episode is with Chris Pickett. He is the owner of Creative Music and Entertainment. And Chris and I were just talking about why I do these podcasts, and I really think it boils down to just letting people talk about their passion. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and talk about your company a little bit, and then why did you get into this and how?
Hey guys, I'm Chris, and really, for me, music has always been a passion.
Do you play?
I play, I sing. Music started for me when I was a little kid, really, and it's always been a driving passion.
What style of music
life.
do you prefer?
You know, I really don't have a style. It's kind of really what comes out of me. It's really always been kind of a hodgepodge of things, an eclectic
Season, like whatever season you're in,
yeah,
pours out.
It really does. I'm a songwriter too, so it just kind of flows out of me. It's really kind of a rock, soul, country, indie kind of thing.
You're creating your own kind of music.
Yeah, it just kind of flows out of me.
Yeah.
Really, based on what I'm feeling or thinking or experiencing.
So you said this started when you were really young. I did a podcast with Sam Welty, who was the painter doing the tribute mural, and he said the same thing. You know, 5-year-olds don't realize that they can or can't sing. It's somebody told them they couldn't. So did you have somebody that really encouraged you as a young person?
You know, it really wasn't anybody that encouraged me personally. But I always tell people this story, and it's kind of, it's very vivid in my mind, and it almost sounds cheesy to some people, but I remember the day I was probably about 7 years old, and I was in my cousin's basement in Northern Virginia, and he had some friends there, and we were all playing ping pong and some other things, and he had the music really loud on the radio station. And Daryl Hall and John Oates' song Private Eyes came on.
Oh, yes.
And it literally changed my life that day and that moment.
Oh,
and
wow.
we were all dancing around, singing and clapping our hands and everything. And actually, you know, some kids had Superman and Batman as their heroes. Daryl Hall and John Oates became my heroes that day. And I remember even right after that, going to the skating rinks and everything, and I Can't Go For That, No Can Do would come on, and everybody would just flock on the rink and everything like that. And I wanted to be those guys when I was young. And that's really what inspired me to get into music.
That's awesome.
Later on, it just kind of those kinds of influences. Later on, I was a teenager, and I really wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and my brother taught me how to play the guitar. Well, he kind of gave me a few lessons, and I was kind of inspired by that. I've always been really self-motivated to learn. I ended up getting a music degree, that kind of thing. I've always had some good mentors along the way, though, that kind of
inspired and encouraged.
Inspired me, pushed me,
That's interesting. So part of the foundation of these podcasts is just exactly what you're saying, is finding people who have a passion and then developed it into a career, or even for some people it's a hobby, but it's a give back, it's a feel good, and finding out what your strengths are and developing those, because you probably don't feel like you're working.
Right, exactly. I don't feel like I'm working at all.
That is what I think is so great about, when you find what you love and you can turn it into a career. So tell me a little bit more about your journey. How did you actually start the income process or the business building of starting to get into this?
Well, it was interesting. In college, I was working in a church, and I was directing a youth choir, and I had 4 girls that had some talent, and I decided to start teaching them voice lessons on the side, and I really knew nothing about private voice lesson teaching at the time.
You just knew pitch, and you knew what sounded right.
And I knew kind of what I wanted to get out of them, and I kind of wanted to develop their sound. And my career was supposed to be being a worship leader in churches, which I did a little bit of. And I would teach lessons to some students here along the way. And it's kind of funny what you said about finding your passion and what really motivates you. I worked in these churches, but I know they're churches, but I was really miserable
Yeah.
It wasn't what my thing was. And through a series of that, working in churches and then getting out of churches and working in some construction in real estate, I just really wasn't happy at all. And I actually had a friend call me one day and said, "Would you teach my daughter how to play piano?" And I didn't really have a lot going on all the time. I was going through a divorce. I didn't have a lot going on at night. And I said, "Sure, why not?" And I never even taught a piano lesson in my life. So I just went over and started teaching her. And then I thought, hey, I really don't have much to do at night. So I just kind of started advertising myself on Craigslist that I'll come to your house, blah, blah, blah. I lived over on the peninsula at the time. And so people started hiring me to do this. And so I started going to people's houses part-time at night. And I thought, man, I really like doing this.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So I would go to work and I'd get through my day.
Yes.
Basically. And then I'd do this at night. And then fast forward to about 4 years ago, I moved over to the Chesapeake area.
Oh, to our side of the water.
Yes. And I was still working in real estate all day, but then I was in a position where I could teach lessons out of my home. And I started building up this clientele where it was about on the verge of full-time. And I got in that last real estate job, and I wasn't selling, I was doing an admin thing. But I got to that last job that was just extremely miserable.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Yep.
And working for somebody.
Yeah.
And that person and I really didn't see eye to eye at all. And I thought to myself, I've got enough people now to start out and launch
really
myself
build this
into it. Yeah. And so I cut ties. It was a little bit scary at first because I really didn't have enough, but I was able to. And that summer,
well, you were probably at that tipping point that if I don't develop this, it's going to dwindle down. But I'm scared to death because it's not quite enough to meet all my bills.
Exactly.
It's that.
But it was really great because as soon as I did, my numbers exploded. And I ended up having to hire other teachers right away and that kind
wonderful.
of a thing.
That is wonderful.
And so I've been doing this full time for the last 3-4 years, and it's really been amazing.
So you probably end up with a lot of word of mouth. You know, good salespeople have a lot of word of mouth, or maybe siblings, families that.
Siblings.
Yeah.
We get a lot of that kind of a thing, and that's why I started hiring other people too, because so then people will come take with me and they'll take with somebody else at the same time.
Oh, so parents can have both kids going at the same time and maximize, which is smart. That's a smart move.
Yeah.
So you teach all age groups. What is your favorite?
You know, that's hard for me because my favorite is not age. My favorite is attitude.
Oh, that's a good.
So I like, it's either a kid or an adult. It doesn't really matter to me. It's ones that I can really connect with, that are really involved with, that really want to come in there and learn.
Yeah.
And everybody's not like that. And I really like the different ages. I wouldn't want to teach all kids. I wouldn't want to teach all teenagers. I wouldn't want to teach all adults.
You just want somebody who's happy to be there and is absorbing.
Right.
Yeah. Or you don't want the parent that says you will be taking these lessons.
Right.
Because that's hard.
Fortunately, I haven't had too many of those.
But well, I think we're getting smart enough not to waste our money as parents.
Yes. So I really like bouncing around. I like the different personalities walking in the door and the different ages and the different walks of life.
Well, I was telling you right before we started, my husband's never been trained, but he has been a guitarist probably since he was about 12 or 13. And drums, I've got pictures of him when he was really little, you know, and he's just really, he's really good at it. So we're trying to figure out if our 4-year-old is going to pick up on that, because she does love to get upstairs and play with the drums and stuff. So, so what do you think music does for somebody who's I mean, it could be all age groups, but you know, when you're older and being able to develop music talent, I you know, when I spoke with Sam, he said, you know, I know some people who retire and they all of a sudden realize there's an artist inside of them. They just never knew it. So have you found that? You know, some older people who are like, wow, I'm good at this.
I have. I have taught several people that, let's just say, are 50 and older. I've taught a man as old as 74 that was fulfilling his life dream
Wow.
of taking lessons.
His bucket list, huh?
Yeah, and I also wanted to keep his mind sharp was one of the reasons that he was doing it. So I've taught several, in the later stages of life doing that.
Because we don't always think about that.
No.
We think about children starting
Right.
it in the very beginning. So it doesn't matter where you are in life if you want to get your brain a little sharper and use skills that you probably just would never develop.
Oh yes, definitely, because music uses a different part of the brain that so many other things do not use, and it's causing you to it's a very holistic experience. So you're using your mind, but you're connecting it with usually your hands and something else at the same time, and you're having to send these messages to your body that normally you don't do in other skills at the same time. Plus, you're accessing a different side of your brain, usually, so that you're doing all this stuff at the same time. Plus, studies show when you're learning something new, you're usually very excited about it. These chemicals are flowing, that kind of thing. You're just generally a more happy person. And just the whole experience of music, and that's really one of the things that I go for. And I push with, not just me, with all of our teachers as well, is that we want people to have a good experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning music. We want people to come in and
Have fun.
We want them to have fun. We want them to have a good time. We want them to learn, but we want it to be an amazing experience. And I consider the greatest compliment I ever received as a teacher was I had these 4 kids, brothers and sisters, that came to me. And they had to move out of the area. But the father had passed by me in a Walmart one day, right when they were moving out of town. And he stopped me and he said, "I want to thank you for teaching my kids to love music."
Oh, wow. Not just learn it, but love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, "I never experienced that when I was a kid." And out of these 4 kids, really only one of them had
Natural talent.
really
Yeah.
natural talent. The other ones, they were just kind of okay. And really only one of the other ones really could do something with it. But that really touched my heart because that's what I'm trying to do is get kids
To love it.
to love it.
Yeah.
And even with my other teachers, I don't really go in and evaluate them or whatever. The way I evaluate them is when they usually have a lesson and a new kid comes down the hall or whatever, and I go, "Did you have fun?" And they go, "Yeah." That's all I need to know.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they're having fun, they're interested, they're developing, they're learning. If they're miserable, they've shut down.
Exactly.
So. Well, tell me, we're going to have your website and information in the show notes, but if somebody is just listening right now, maybe they're in their car and they're just listening to the audio file, what is the best way to reach you to learn more about how they can enroll into your classes?
The best way is to go to our website, creativemusicva.com, or just give me a call, 757-236-2609.
Well, I'm pretty excited. I've only seen one music shop store near my house, but I'm really glad I got to meet you because we are considering whether or not our little one is going to follow through Daddy's footsteps. And I found out that my grandmother was an opera singer in Europe, so there's a little talent on both sides of the family, and I'm wondering if she got the gene. So, well, thank you for coming in. It was a wonderful story. I love the fact that you took your passion. You did the stepping stones. There is no overnight success.
No, there's none.
But you took the jump. You took the challenge.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Well, somebody's buzzing me now. Well, thank you. And any last notes?
One thing that I want to encourage, just piggybacking on what you just said, is we don't take a cookie cutter approach to our students like the music stores do. And so I always tell people, bring your kids, or as an adult, come to us, because we let you sing the songs you want to sing, play the songs you want to play. I mean, we may start you out with some traditional things, but we eventually get to what you like, and we take into consideration your personality, your
That's
likes,
a really good point. Really
and all
good
of
point.
those things where so many teachers are
Classic.
just teaching everybody the same way.
Yeah.
And we really get on a personal level with everybody. And I always tell people, I don't teach like I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
I make it fun. We make it fun.
Yeah.
And so definitely come to us. Don't waste your money in those storefront places, because it is not.
It's boring.
Yeah, it's really boring. And so if you want something different, we're the place to look for.
Well, I'm very encouraged, and I definitely hope that our listeners, if you've been thinking about it for yourself, your kids, your grandkids, you definitely check them out and give them a call. Thanks for coming.